The executive can only make proposals. It can only make proposals. It's up to the National Assembly to approve the proposal as it comes. It is up to the National Assembly to change the budget entirely. Issue of benchmark is a proposal. We have our parameters. We have to look at our parameters and see what is supposed to be done. So, legitimately, it is the National Assembly, it is a provision in the Constitution that empowers the National Assembly to appropriate funds.
Until when we appreciate that this is a democratic dispensation, we will not get budgeting right. Budgeting must be in tune with the needs and the aspirations of the people. This is not a military government where somebody sits out in Abuja and is budgeting for the needs of the people in Oyo and is budgeting for the people in Adamawa or the people in Enugu. They have their representatives who should speak about the needs of their people. But today in this country, people assume that legislators or members of the National Assembly should not have input into the budget. That is not true, because
parliamentarians want to make inputs that will reflect particularly constituency projects. They need to have items to campaign with, because the public is unable to appreciate the fact that the lawmaker is not judged by the number of boreholes that he sinks with his money in, but by the number of constructive legislations proposed by him, supported by him, motions of national importance moved by him, and his overall plenary sessions and committee activities. So, because you may walk like a jackal in Nigeria's parliament, sleep there from day and night, the people don't understand unless you transmit it into bread and butter in the forms of actual development. So, they want to make sure that they are no longer leaving budgetary inputs only to the executive, which claims the monopoly of knowing what is good for Nigeria. Parliament's position is that, listen, we represent the collective will of the people. We are the ones who reach the nooks and crannies of this country. So we know what pinches our people. And so we move further to take one step, include this in the budget. It is this budgetary input that is causing the bloating that the executive thinks should not be. And the executive sees it as an attempt to undermine their powers. And their perception is very, very ill-conceived, because their perception is that they retain a monopoly of what is good for Nigeria. And this is where I think they need to remodel and reorient that view that Parliament is a custodian of the public conscience. In the United States, for example, congressional powers are so strong that Congress can impound the budget. For example, Congress can say, listen, Ministry of Works, that money we gave you last year, you could not persuade us on the use of that money. We are recalling that money and we are giving you none for that vote this year. They have the Congressional Impoundment Act of the United States. I've always told my people, don't worry much about constitutional inputs. There are laws you can use. I don't know why you have not passed a budget impoundment law in this country. You see a ministry misusing funds. You see a ministry misapplying funds. You look at that ministry and your only solution is to say, I won't give you funds in the next budget. I think you should go beyond that. You should seize the funds.
Nevertheless, how has the National Assembly contributed to the development of the country in the last 2 years?
It is important we appreciate here that the National Assembly is a separate arm of government created by the 1999 Constitution under the clear provision of Section 4 as amended. And the responsibility here is to make good laws for the good governance of this country. So if you want to ask, in judging in terms of bills, I think we have not done very badly. We have done very, very well, and I see the National Assembly even performing better than the previous Sixth Assembly.
Sincerely speaking, if you weigh the activities of the Senate in the last 2 years compared with other years, you have to give the Senate a credit. So many things have gone. So many things have happened in the country. There are so many interventions by the Senate. If I can refresh your memory just a little. Last year, there's an issue of this withdrawal of oil subsidy. There's a serious strike in this country, which at least that strike almost leads to a serious problem in Nigeria's economy, because nothing is moving. The port has been closed, the airport has been closed, everything has been closed, and so on and so forth. I think it is the intervention of the Senate. I can say the intervention of the National Assembly, but in particular the intervention of the Senate that mediate between the labor and the government. That's how we came in and resolved to where we are today. So that alone, I believe, is a credit to the Senate. So we have passed so many bills, we have passed so many motions, so many of them, which at least affect the life of a common man in this country.
When you look at the principal functions of the National Assembly, lawmaking and oversight, they've been doing well. But I think over and above that, the National Assembly has been playing a fundamental role in Nigerian politics by being a check on the excesses of the executive. And that's one of their important roles in any democracy.
It will appear to me that it's business as usual. They have committees, for example, on compliance to ensure the compliance of the executive arm of government with the resolutions of Parliament. How much do these committees go out of their way? How much do they know about the enforcement procedure? How much do they know about the power of the purse of Parliament? How well do they use it? And in any case, my biggest problem with Parliament today is that the committees are proliferated. I've argued so much about too many committees, and it is making it less and less efficacious. Because I have studied parliamentary practices as a study, and I have found out that in many countries of the world, committees are limited with subcommittees. Here we have committees for night and day, committee on Navy, committee on police. The committees are so many, and the consequence of that is that it keeps agencies coming every day, spending most of their productive time coming to Parliament. Now, the consequence is that there's diminishing returns in terms of parliamentary potency. You know, when you do the same thing over and over again, the tendency to think that it's not serious business becomes higher. And this is key, because Parliament is the custos moral of the people, is the custodian of the public conscience. If you lose Parliament, you lose democracy.
A bill which seeks to prohibit same-sex marriage in the country has passed through the crucial consideration stage in the House of Representatives. Now, the bill, which has attracted international attention, was unanimously passed by federal lawmakers in the lower chamber. You'll recall that the Senate also unanimously passed this bill more than a year ago. So let's find out how the process went in the House of Representatives. A full year after the Senate passed its version of a bill seeking to ban same-sex marriage in the country, the House of Representatives took decisive steps to pass the bill. The clause-by-clause consideration of the bill is the last chance opponents of the bill have to defeat a law which, by the lawmakers, set a prison term of up to 14 years for offenders.
The bill seeks to outlaw same-sex marriage and provide punishment for its breach. It is a 7-clause bill, very brief clauses, self-explanatory, couched in simple language. I therefore recommend that honorable members consider the clauses and approve them as recommended.
Some amendments were indeed proposed.
Paragraph 1 of that clause is sufficient for us to know that courts have been so covered. But again, if you look at paragraph 2, it has been covered. If you look at paragraph 2, my problem is the use of that word, worship. Then you now say either church or mosque. We can stop at worship and leave out church or mosque, so that anywhere you worship, irrespective of what it is prohibited.
Marriages are also consummated in the courts. Do we lose anything to also insert, apart from the addition he's saying, any other place, including courts?
Okay, so we should just say worship either church, mosque,
or any court.
The argument is much ado about nothing, because strictly speaking, it is not a court of law that marriages are conducted. They are marriage registry, but they are deemed to be court marriages. And that is why I was drawing